How do you want to start?
Go ahead.
All right.
I'll be the wacky sidekick.
Always are. It's a live edition of Green and Gold today in person, which is not how we get to do the radio show, Billy. I'm in my basement and you're in parts unknown.
Right.
Bill Johnson here in Green Bay to talk a little Packers. Billy, when you come into a situation like this where you're not here every day, you're here every Wednesday for us, what struck you today in terms of what Mike McCarthy talked about, or maybe the way this team is trending as it gets ready for the Bengals?
Well, he's a lot more jovial after a win than he is after a loss. I guess you get that with any coach, but he actually chuckled a couple of times
and didn't yell at Bill about any of his questions.
Didn't yell at me. I actually got a couple of questions in there. I think I had the opportunity to talk with Evan Dietrich Smith and with David Bakhtiari, and I think that the offensive linemen just feel this real sense of relief. Not necessarily just because the 45-game streak is over with, but I think they feel a sense of relief because deep down offensive linemen always feel better when they feel like they can run the football. And I think these guys, after that game, really think that they can run the football.
Well, speaking of running the football, Mike McCarthy tells us today that James Starks will start at running back, really regardless of where's Mike Sherman when you need him?
Sorry, I thought I had that on.
James Starks will start at running back regardless of whether or not... You can just let it ring again. That's fine.
Okay.
It doesn't bother me any. This is why we do a show in separate locations.
That's true.
The idea of Eddie Lacy, he was at practice today. He didn't participate. He's going through the concussion protocol. But the fact that James Starks is going to be the starter regardless of whether Eddie Lacy is active or not, what do you read into that?
I think that they're going to be smart with Eddie Lacy, and I totally agree with that. That with the bye week coming up, that why not take the opportunity to give him a couple of weeks off? It's kind of like a baseball team when they've got an off day coming up. Give the veteran player the day game off, then give him the next day off so he comes back fresh, especially when you're dealing with a concussion. With other injuries, I think it's a little easier to deal with, but what we've seen with the long-term effects of concussions, plus the tendency for recurrence, I think the more time you can give Eddie Lacy to recover, the better. I think the bigger concern, though, with the injury to Kuhn is the depth at running back all of a sudden, and if James Starks can't go, it's Jonathan Franklin. I know there were some questions about him today. He really hasn't shown anything so far as a guy that can come in and be your featured ball carrier.
Yeah, I would think that they're hoping that John Kuhn can go, because if not, I mean, the idea of going into a game literally with two running backs. Mike McCarthy had said on Monday that he talked with Ted Thompson and that they weren't planning, they were game planning as if they were going to have their guys. So we'll see as the week progresses. James Starks, a guy who has been here now since 2010, spent some time with him today asking him some questions. You look back at his injury history, though, his senior year at Buffalo is washed out. The first half of the 2010 season, when he was such a godsend to the running game late in the year. 2011, he plays in 13 regular season games, sharing time with Ryan Grant. And then obviously last year, has a good game going against Minnesota at home, gets hit on the knee, and is never heard from again. When you look at him, do you see a guy who, as long as he's healthy, is productive? Do you also see a guy that you're just waiting for him to not be healthy so he won't be productive?
Yeah, you can't help but think that way with James Starks. And there must be something there, though, because otherwise he wouldn't still be around. And there was a lot of speculation that he wouldn't be around when we got to the end of camp. But he kind of saved himself. He put himself forward above Alex Green. And I think what it all comes down to is, for all the things that he's not particularly good at, I mean, he's not exactly a bookworm. He's not a very good pass protector. He is injury prone. But all those things, he can run the football. And ultimately, no matter what Edgar Bennett says about pass protection being the most important thing, he can run the ball, and that's what they need right now.
If you've been on a tour of Lambeau Field, you know that is the press elevator. That is the loudest and slowest elevator in this otherwise amazing building. Last thing, as they get ready for Cincinnati. Cincinnati, obviously, very good defensively. You didn't have to watch Hard Knocks to know that. A really good front four. They've got depth in that position. They can get some pressure on the quarterback. They can stop the run. How big of a challenge do you think the Packers have this week?
Oh, it's huge. And I talked to Evan Dietrich Smith about that, too, about Geno Atkins and what he brings from the inside and how unique he is. I mean, 12 sacks from that spot. I mean, that is really, really good. I mean, that indicates that this is a guy that's not just a big space filler. This is a guy that makes plays in there, and they understand that they have to be on top of their game because it all starts and ends with him. And it's not just him, though. They got a very active defense and a very good defense.
We're going to do this every week that Bill's able to make it up here on Wednesdays, and I remember the video recorder. So be sure to tune in to ESPNWisconsin.com and our YouTube channel and check it out. Thanks for tuning in this time, and we'll see you next time.